I think it goes back to being self-aware. How self-aware can you be, especially when you're around other people? I think that it's harder now because we're virtual. Like I can't read your energy. I can read your facial expressions and, kind of gauge how you're feeling, but I think that it just comes down to self-awareness and understanding that if I offend one person by saying XYZ, that person has a million other connections who they'll talk about, and I could offend all those people too. You have to strategize who you are and then be self aware to the fact that you might make some people mad. You might inspire some people, and that has to be okay. You have to be okay enough with, being authentic in who you are.
On today's episode of The Flame, I'm joined by Jillian Di Benedetto, an award-winning multidisciplinary designer and creative leader whose career spans digital, direct-to-consumer, and B2B campaigns. Jillian's also one of the funniest and most unfiltered voices on LinkedIn right now, sharing the raw realities of job hunting with a bold mix of sarcasm, humor, and honesty that struck a chord with thousands. She's even launching her own podcast to turn this chaos into comedy. We'll talk about creativity, rejection, resilience, and why sometimes the best response to a broken system is glitter, humor, and a whole lot of truth. Let's get started. Hey, Jillian, how are you?
Hey, Rob, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to talk to you again. And, I've been really enjoying seeing your LinkedIn posts for people that are new to the show and just watching this episode. I met Jillian on LinkedIn, like I meet most people these days. I feel like it's like the new water cooler. But what stood out to me was your posts about your struggles with the recruitment and job seeking from a creative's perspective were different than what I've been seeing. And in that it made me laugh. It was like a really sharp, witty take. I think the post that somehow came into my feed, and maybe it was because somebody else in my network liked it, but it was about that you got a comment from a recruiter that you weren't Apple enough or something to that effect. And then you just kind of went off, and I was like, this girl's cool. Like, I want to talk to her. And so here we are, and you were gracious enough to answer my DM, and now we're here. So I would love for you to take the opportunity to kind of introduce yourself, tell the audience about who you are and what you do, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. If you don't already know, I'm Jillian Di Benedetto. I have an art director background. I went to UF, studied advertising, went to Miami Ad School, did the art direction track, and then for the past 15 years, I've just been in the ad world. I started at Razorfish, which was a, pretty big agency, went to a smaller agency in Miami, and then I went remote in like 2013, which gave me the opportunity to, really go outside of Florida, outside of Miami, and find agencies that were doing work that I admired. And I decided that I wanted to find agencies that had smaller clients where the impact is immediate when you work on a smaller client. And so I worked for an agency in Seattle where I met one of my best friends. We've only met in person once, which I think is so cool about, the virtual world that we're now living in.
Uh-huh.
And then an agency out of Austin where I honestly got some of my best work that I think I've ever had the opportunity to be a part of. And then last year, I had the opportunity to go client side, be a design director for a rebrand and lead a team of 25 in the US, multiple time zones, and then about 20 people in India as well. I got to build the team. I got to interview, who we were going to hire. And so I'm really familiar with the interview process. I know how it works. I know that, like the first 5 minutes of talking to somebody, if they're going to be a fit for your team or not. And when you see their portfolio, if they're going to be a fit for your team or not. So the 7 interview rounds and, having to meet with the client and the client has to approve you. It just, to me, it was never like that. It was
Right.
always one round and you met with the creative director and then you met with HR and you were
Right.
hired.
Right.
So this is like a new world we're living in, but Yeah, so my contract ended, it ended in April, and they actually pulled me back in, like, a month ago to finalize a few things that they
Uh-huh.
needed. Now I'm kind of, like, on standby for them.
Okay.
But yeah, so I've been looking since April.
And you were kind of going remote before it was popular, right? I mean, 2013 is a
Yeah,
long time ago for when you think of remote work as a designer. I think when people think working from home, they automatically associate it with the pandemic and
yeah,
2020. That's certainly when I was driving an hour to work every day to
right.
work on site before that. And then once that happened, it was you work from home, and then everybody realized like, oh
Yeah,
yeah, this is much easier. Like, why am I driving an hour,
right,
spending 2 hours of my day commuting and missing dinner with my family or whatever when I could just be working from home and
right.
feel much less stressed about it.
So in 2013, I became pregnant with my first child. She's 11 now. And one of my friends, she's just ahead of the game. She owned this really small digital agency, and everybody was remote. And, she was able to hire people who lived in other cities
Mhm.
who were like the best in their game.
Right.
And we did super solid, really fun work. It was all digital. It was all web. You know what they called it 10 years ago. We were
Mhm.
web designers. We're product designers. But yeah, it opened my eyes to that we can work remotely and
Right.
there's no barrier here.
Right.
She was presenting to clients remotely. She was
Right.
pitching remotely. She was doing so well. We were having such a great time doing it. And then I got in with this other agency because they had Norwegian Cruise Lines as a client, and I'm in Miami and Norwegian was in Miami,
Mhm.
but they were based in Seattle.
Oh,
So, we were doing, like, all the print work for Norwegian, for
okay.
NCL, and this was before COVID, actually, and then COVID happened, and then everybody went remote, and then I was like, "Oh, this works."
Right.
Like you said, why are we driving an hour to an
Right.
office when we can do exactly what we're doing from home, and honestly, I feel like I'm more productive at home.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
it turned in a lot of the times it turns into like your clients are never in the same town that you are. And
Mhm.
so anymore you're doing presentations and pitches by sending
Right.
something out and doing something digital like you're not normally, unless we're talking like multi-million dollar type stuff. I feel like that is, it shouldn't be so surprising, and then actually it's more surprising that they're agencies are trying to bring people back into
Yeah.
the office. And so, I mean, it's great
Mhm.
for, I guess, to like see people in person because I know there's many people that I've worked with who I've never met and I've made friendships with.
Right. Same.
So, but you mentioned, as a people manager that you've had to learn the recruitment and interview process from the business side of it. And I had to do that too as a people manager. And I always tried to take the approach that I want to treat the people that are coming in like human beings. And
Right.
that, if they don't get selected, that I send them an email and tell them, personally that,
Right.
you will hear from me either way, right?
Right.
And not have to go through some type of applicant tracking system, which I think is what, you're taking the human out of human resources essentially
Right.
by doing that, right?
Yeah, it's funny, when you talk to different recruiters, I've spoken to a lot of recruiters since my posts have gotten, a huge following on LinkedIn, and they've reached out, and some of them are super nice, and they're like, "Look, we don't use an ATS because we really want to look at each applicant. It just takes a really long time." So what
Sure.
they're doing is they're like, it might be a while before you hear back from us because we look at each applicant individually. And then, I'll talk to some recruiters and they're like, it's really not personal. We're in the ATS and we're just clicking yes, no, yes, no. It's like swiping right on a dating app. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. It does not sit well with me that you're trying to validate the fact that we shouldn't take it personally.
Right.
And it's funny because I talked to somebody yesterday and she's about 10 years younger than me. And she was like, this is how advertising is. Like, this is how tech is. I'm like, this is not how tech is. Like, these kids, like, they're gonna grow up and they're gonna think that it's okay to act like the way that they're being treated in real life towards other people,
Right.
taking the humanity out of literally everything.
Right.
And I just feel like, what are we doing? What are we teaching our kids? What are we teaching like this generation that is now out of college and applying to jobs and getting like this robotic rejection multiple
Hmm.
times a day? That's what are we have to think that what does good leadership look like, right? And it comes from the top and it flows down to who is beneath you. And, me and you have been doing this for so long and we see how things have just gradually become more robotic and less human. And these kids just don't know anything different.
Right. I think a lot of it they're been conditioned through
Mhm.
social media to, you know, boil things down to likes and follows.
Right.
And it's so mechanical, it's so robotic that they don't even think about it. And it's just, you can see how kids have just been, conditioned to deal with that and be like, oh, that's just the way it is. Like they don't even know
Right.
how it is to stand in front of somebody and sit down and present a portfolio. Like I remember having to carry around like a
Yeah.
huge metal
Right.
briefcase with boards on it and
Right. You print
present
out.
the work, and nobody like that was it was, "Okay, I like your resume, come in and
Mhm.
prove yourself." And
Yeah.
that's the I mean, the ATS thing I think is okay if you're in, like, data analytics and everything is very black and white, but
Right.
when you're a creative person and you're in the creative industry and you have ideas and thoughts and work that you need to show and present, how can you possibly justify getting the right candidate through something that's so kind of cold and robotic?
Yeah, I mean, I went through the interview process for 8 different companies since April.
Mhm.
And I compare, obviously you're like comparing who you're talking to, the questions they ask you. Some of the questions are like just mind-blowingly ridiculous, have nothing to do with the role. It's so silly. There was one process, just one out of 8, there was one that made me feel like I was talking to somebody who understood what he was telling me. He was super transparent. He's gonna know who he is if he watches this. So I talked to 8 VP creative directors or 8 ECDs, whatever, and only one was like, "Look, Imma be real with you. This is how the process works. This is when you're gonna hear from us. This is the day you're gonna interview with the client. This is what we're looking for." And he was like, "Let's talk about your portfolio. Show me your stuff. Like, what are you passionate about?" And it was like real questions about our industry and the job and how people work together, and it was just so refreshing to see that. And he was a little bit older than us, and I think that he just, he cared about the human aspect of it
Right.
and not being super robotic with everybody. But I don't know, maybe we need like a group type of meeting to talk about, "Listen, you're interviewing people, this is how you should talk to people." Like, let's make a TED Talk about interviews.
Let's do it.
I don't
Seriously.
understand. It's not that hard. I don't know.
Well, and this is really why I wanted to talk to you because, just your personality and your humor kind of shines through in your posts. And like I said, they're just so different. And what you're sharing, whether it's in your post or when I've seen you comment on other people's posts, is just like really genuine positivity. And so in one post, and like you have so many one-liners that just make me laugh. And so in one post you wrote that you got ghosted so hard that you checked your own reflection just to confirm you still exist. Like how do you is this something that you have always done, like to use humor to kind of cope with, especially now, like the emotional roller coaster of job searching?
Yeah, so my dad was a comedian. So
Okay,
growing
there
up,
you
he was
go.
always, like, making jokes and really funny. So I minored in English in college, and you had to pick, like, a concentration, so I picked creative writing. And then just matching that with advertising and the idea of how do you reach people authentically? Think about a human truth. What's a human truth that everybody can relate to? And for that particular one, because I brainstorm and I strategize everything I write on LinkedIn. It's not just like, empty typing. I think about what's the concept? What do I want to convey? Who do I want to talk to? And for that one, I would think back to a time when I was in college, pre social media, where I'm in my room, I'm alone, and I'm like, am I real? Like, it's so quiet. I just need to like see myself in the reflection, like, okay, I'm here, we're good. Like, it's I don't know if anyone's ever done that, but I feel like if I've done it, I'm sure other people have done it.
Sure.
You're feeling like a little anxious and you're like, let me just look at myself. Like, okay, all right, I'm good. We're here. So like it stemmed from that idea. But yeah, I mean, human truths. And I think comedians touch on this too. I feel like I saw an episode with Daniel Tosh where he spoke about, how to authenticate the human truth of
Mhm.
life, basically.
It's just being observant, right? I feel
Yeah.
like, and I feel like I had, talked to I forget who I was talking to about it, but it's like comedians to me tend to be some of the most creative people because they can take
Mhm.
the most minute thing and frame it in a way where everyone's like, "Oh my god, like, you're right."
Yeah.
It's something so simple, something that we can all relate to,
Yeah.
and they just seem to be the most observant people, and I feel like the best creatives, the best people that make the best creative leaders, the ones that are the best teachers, have that ability to see things and clarify them and help the people that work for them or help get the best out of the creative
Right.
for their client.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's what it is, right? It's how different can you be? How far can you push the bar before people are just like, that's stupid. But it's just about authenticity, especially now with social media and how
Mhm.
everybody is talking about branding and what's your personal brand. And it's just about being authentic. A lot of people have reached out to me over LinkedIn and asked, what advice do you have? Like, I want to do what you're doing. And I tell them, just be authentic
Mhm.
because you're the only you who has your thoughts in your brain. So if
Right.
you are just on there and just let it all hang out,
Right.
don't be stupid, obviously. Don't,
Right.
be mean or anything like that. But
Do you think people now that personal branding has really become I've seen it's like a really hot trend now. I mean, it's people have talked about it, but I feel like over the last few months, you really
Mhm.
see like you have to get to your personal brand and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's like personal brand, which is how you want people to see you. But then there is your identity and your true identity, right? And so I feel like part of the reason why I started this podcast was because when I went through my layoff, I felt like there was like I took a hit to my own identity or I didn't know like who I was or what I was going to do after that happened,
Mhm.
especially when you're in the industry for, so long. It's been like 20 years for me. Like how how do you feel like the people with the most authentic personal brands are the ones that have a good sense of their own personal identity?
Yeah. I think it goes back to being self aware.
Right.
It's how self aware can you be, especially when you're around other people? And I think the answer is yes. So I think that it's harder now because we're virtual. Like I can't read your energy. I can read your facial expressions and, kind of gauge how you're feeling. But I think that it just comes down to self-awareness and understanding that if I say XYZ, if I offend one person by saying XYZ, that person has a million other connections who they'll talk about, and I could offend all those people too. So it just has to be, you have to strategize who you are and then be self-aware to the fact that you might make some people mad, you might inspire some people, and that has to be okay. You have to be okay enough with, being authentic in who you are. Yeah, I don't know, that's a hard question.
And I think that's what for all of the posting that people do and everybody wants to be on social media, people have such a hard time putting themselves out there,
They
right?
do.
And I feel like it's easier when you find somebody that you can connect with and you can kind of like build that community.
Mhm.
So you mentioned how like you've been picking up a lot of followers lately on LinkedIn, maybe just because your posts have been showing up, but it probably stems from you being unafraid to put something out there. You find that you're able to use the community to help in this time that you're kind of going through these struggles. Talk to
Mhm.
me about this new community that you've developed.
Yeah, so it's just so amazing. People are so amazing. Some people are not, and it's mostly like older men in their 50s and 60s who really hate me, but that's fine. Like I said, you have to be okay with some people not liking you if you're gonna put yourself out there.
Right.
But okay, so there's just one story that it's so incredible. So this guy, he was, maybe late 50s, early 60s, and he messaged me on LinkedIn and he was like, "I saw one of your posts yesterday and I was gonna kill myself." He had been looking for a job for a year and he could not get he was getting multiple rejections, blah, blah, and I think, making fun of, like, the ATS system or, like, it might have been the one where people were getting so mad because I was like, "Don't send rejection emails on the weekend or after hours," and that
Mhm.
that ended up being like a really big, fight between people. Um, he wrote me that, and I wrote him back, and we got into a very deep conversation. I was like, "Listen, whatever you need, let me know," and he was like, "I just feel like." There's a light. Like, I just feel better now. Like, you made me laugh. I hadn't laughed in so
Mhm.
long. I was like, this is amazing that you're telling me this. I'm so happy I can help you. Let me know when you find something. And like 3 days later, he found a full time job.
That's awesome.
And he messaged me and we were like, cheering and dancing. And it was so, so great. Like I was so happy for him. So, there's that. And then there's people who write to me, just thank you for making me laugh today. Thank you for making this seem so trivial and so silly. Cause when you think like it is so silly, look,
Right.
I'm lucky. We're a dual income household. So I'm able to be stupid and silly. And my husband's always like, no one's going to hire you if you keep being stupid on LinkedIn. And I'm like, well, do I really want to work for a company that's like, you can't say how you feel in real
Right.
life? I don't. So it's fine. But it's not all stupid and silly because some people are homeless now. Some people can't pay their mortgage.
Right.
And that's what happens when the human aspect gets taken out of this whole process. And when I say they, I mean the recruiters, the hiring managers, they have no clue. They do not know. If they're not on LinkedIn and they're not following people who've been unemployed for a year, they don't know. I have friends who have jobs right now and they see my post on LinkedIn and they write me and they're like, what is going on? They don't even know to no fault of their own.
Right.
But if the hiring managers brought back humanity, if the recruiters I'm going to get so much slack for this. Recruiters are going to invade my DMs and telling me
Good.
all
Good.
this.
Maybe they'll learn something when you respond to
Right.
them.
If they just brought back they could talk to people, like, they could talk to this one guy, he's like, "I've been homeless for 6 months." And he's actually really good. I looked at his book, he was a copywriter. His stuff is really funny and really good. And if a hiring manager heard that, it might open up their eyes to say, "Oh my gosh, is this happening to other people too?" But they're not
Mhm.
even talking to them. They're not even
Right.
talking to us. So they have no clue what's going on. And that's why I wanted to start my own podcast because all these people reached out to me with all of these stories, saying, thank you for this, thank you for that. And then I talked to a recruiter who gives me like this completely airball story that's just not reality. It's not
Right.
reality. So I know firsthand that a lot of the recruiters and a lot of the HR professionals, they are not living in the reality that the people searching for jobs are living in. They're not in our reality. And right there, that is a huge problem
Right.
because if you are trying to find an employee who's a good fit for your company, but you don't know the reality that we're all living in, how are you going to find the right person? How are you going to find the right person when you're filtering through a system that gathers 800 applicants and not the creative director, but the HR or the hiring director wrote the keywords to flag?
Well,
I
that's
don't
why
know.
there's 8 rounds of interviews
Right.
that don't get anywhere. And
Yeah.
then the new trend is to I think I heard you mention that you're not only interviewing with, the job screener and then the creative director, but then the client too.
Yep.
Like, I feel like that's
Hmm.
gotta be that's unheard of that you would have to
Yeah.
interview with the client.
Three. Three times. Three out of eight. Three. I met three clients.
Right. And how different are the questions that you're getting from the client than from the actual, agency? Like, I'm sure you can see the disconnect
Oh, yeah.
in the
100%.
questioning.
I mean, 100%. They're just really passionate about their brand, which agreed, you should be. But what they think that they need versus what the agency knows that they need, because the agency is the expert, right? They hire the agency to help them with their brand. It is completely disconnected.
Right.
Like, so much so that there was one interview process that I went through where I met the client and I removed myself from it because it was just straight up like they were not on the same page at all. And I was
Right.
like, I can't be the person to fix this. This is
Right. Well,
way
no, and
bigger
that's what would happen. You would be come in
right.
and you would be relied on to do something and then can also be made the scapegoat if things go wrong
Right.
and they lose the
100%.
account, which eventually is gonna happen.
Right. Yeah. I think two people, I had a friend in the agency and two people who were there, or three people even who were there prior, all left.
Right.
So it's,
Why why do you think and you mentioned how you've had friends give you recommendations and exact matches. I thought I saw you had a story about like you were literally the exact match, a friend recommended you. Like, how is that not even working? Because I feel like that should be the ultimate in. If you have a friend
Mhm.
working at an agency or a
Yeah.
company and they recommend you through their employee referral system,
Yeah.
why does that not carry more weight?
So, okay, it had 3, actually 4, but one of them I removed myself from. So the 3, one of them, I didn't have there was a grocery client, and I didn't have grocery experience. One of them was pharma. I didn't have pharma experience. And the third one, I didn't have TV. I worked on TV, but it's not I haven't worked on TV in, like, 10 years, so, like,
Mhm.
fair. That one's fair. But the other 2, I don't know. I don't know. When you're in an ad agency, it's like they don't ask, "Hey, who's worked on, a purple elephant today? Who has experience working with purple elephants?" "Well, I can work with blue elephants. I mean, really kind of the same." "Nope, I'm
Right.
sorry, they're not the same. They're completely
Right.
different. It has to be a purple elephant or you cannot work here."
Right.
And it's like, hard no. It's a hard no.
I feel like some of the best people I've hired have not had the um like sector experience.
Mhm.
When I was hiring, when I worked on the Pfizer account, pretty much everybody I had hired in the beginning didn't come from pharma. They came from publishing, they
Yeah.
came from packaging, but they were creative people.
Right.
And when I
Management.
had designers where when you're in the corporate world, 90% of what you do is working on in PowerPoint anyway,
Mhm.
unfortunately. But when a designer would say like, I'm not great at PowerPoint or I'm not great at this, and I would say, don't worry about the medium, like, it's just a blank canvas. You're a
Right. I
good
can design.
designer. Just
Mhm.
design. It doesn't
Right.
I'll help you through, I'll coach you up in what to look out for, but
Yeah.
I'm hiring you to be a good designer. I'm hiring you because you're creative and because I like
Right.
what I
Make
see in your
real
book. Like,
products.
I don't care that you have never, laid out a reference block or
Right.
seen, terms and conditions before. Like, can you design? Are you a good person? Are you a good personality
Right.
fit? And you can't
Right.
get that from ATSs.
Yeah, I mean, one of my friends told me the person they had hired, it was like me and another person, they hired this other person and they already let them go because they didn't work out. Um, and 3 months later, they let her go. But, like, it's so disheartening to see what our industry is becoming because it's becoming a place where everything looks the same and where creativity isn't valued and strategy isn't
Mhm.
valued. It's can you design a box in Figma with a cool drop shadow and an awesome gradient, and can this work on mobile? And it doesn't. It just that feeling of like, can we do something cool? Like I have in my book right now, I have 4 case studies and they're all like really small brands. They're small brands, but we did something amazing for each one and we were able to reach a category, a niche category in an within an audience in a way that not a lot of people can do. And for me to go through an interview process and then for people to say like that, we don't care about that. We don't care that you come in with like this strategy mind and how do we reach the consumer in a cool way and how do we get a bigger ROI for our website or I don't know, for point of sale purchases, whatever it is. They don't care about that.
Right.
They just want it to look pretty and they wanna put it out into the world. I mean, I can't speak for everybody. I'm sure I can. I have a good friend who works at a dad agency, and they're doing, like, kick-ass crazy work. So not everybody, but the places where I've been, where I've interviewed, or people that I've spoken to recently, it's very much, "We want a product designer. We want a UI designer. We we don't care that they don't come with a strategy background. We
Right.
don't care that they don't come from an ad agency background.
Right.
We just want them to make things look pretty, and
Right.
then the people will come." Okay, but you're obviously in free fall. You're hiring somebody. You're going through a hiring process. Let's make it they're just scared, I guess. They don't wanna take risk. The economy's shit. We
Right.
all know that. I don't know. DM me, companies, if you think I'm wrong.
Well, speaking of making things pretty, I I've seen that you like to, and I'm going to keep coming back to your LinkedIn posts. I'm sorry because I love them, but um, you love using the term glitter.
Yeah.
And one of your posts says, "Spread your glitter, storm the gates, sacrifice a cover letter to the gods. Let's burn the gatekeeping system down and dance on the ashes." Like, just the visuals I get from that, but it's empowering. And you just talked about how, it's dehumanizing the process, and it feels like it's demoralizing. But like, what's your feeling on how much power creatives actually have? Do you think they have more? Do we have more power than we realize to kind of push back against what's happening?
If we gained together, yeah, we do. Because the problem, it's an inherent problem that has been around for a really long time, is that people don't want to make waves. They want to sit down and shut up and get what they deserve, what they think they deserve. You don't deserve anything until you prove yourself. So stand up, make some noise. Let's talk about this trash system together. Everybody should hear us. Like, let's have our battle cry, however you feel about it, whatever you think about it. It's not only me. It's hundreds of people. Could you imagine if hundreds of creatives just like said, we don't do spec work? Or if we had, like, you think about the Actors Guild or SAG AFTRA or whatever, like, however they say it, the union, like the Actors Union, they have rules for
Hmm.
actors and how
Right.
they can be approached and spoken to. Like, why don't we have that in our industry? Spec work shouldn't be allowed. It just shouldn't be. I'm sorry. I'm so against it. Ask me a question in my interview and I'll answer it. Ask
Right.
me how components work in Figma and I'll answer that for you. But don't be like, she doesn't know Figma.
Right.
That's wild. That's stupid. We need to have rules that protect us because right now we don't have any. It's like the Wild West out there.
It is. It's crazy. Do you worry about your kind of this bold stance that you're taking on LinkedIn, like, and kind of the satirical nature of your posts, that it could be scaring off recruiters? I know you mentioned your husband kind of tried to warn you about it, but like, or do you see this as part of your brand now?
It is scaring off recruiters for sure. And that's fine. Maybe I wasn't meant to work in corporate anymore. I'm the type of person, in the way I was raised is that I see a problem. This is a problem. And I'm not going to sit here and do nothing about it.
Mhm.
Because guess what? This can be fixed. This is fixable. This doesn't have to be forever. We can fix this. And the people who just want me to sit down and shut up, because I've gotten so many DMs from people, women too, who are like, sit down, shut up, and like
Wow.
take your hand out, when you're offered a job. And I'm not going to do that. I'm never going to do that. The agencies I work for, people will tell you, the people I managed for an entire year, they will tell you that I am very calm, but I will not sit down and shut up. And I will go to bat for my people. I was on a call with the vice president of operations from my last company. And I saw that the way that the teams were structured, it was wrong. There was a better, not that it was wrong, there was a better way.
Mhm.
And raised my hand on Zoom and I said, hey, I think that if we do this XYZ and make the teams function this way, we'll be faster. And she like didn't want to do it. She's like, it's not going to work. I don't want to do it. And I'm like, well, how about we just try it with one team? Like, let's just try it. And I created this system where we moved 30% faster. We got things done 30% faster. That's 3 weeks faster than we were supposed to. And we got more work because of it. And so when I see something that's broken, like this ATS system, this is broken. How can we fix it? And the only way to fix it is to keep speaking up and to keep saying, why is this being done like this? Is there a better way? I will help you find a better way. And, a lot of people, some of the recruiters and the HR and the hiring teams have been really receptive to what I'm saying, and some really hate me. They
Right.
hate me. They write me like really mean stuff. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. You're wrong. And I'm like, okay, okay. Tell me why I'm
Prove
wrong.
me wrong, right?
Why am I
Prove me
wrong?
wrong because
Yeah,
from what I'm seeing, you're not wrong. From one the people I talk to, you're not wrong. And I'm
right.
sure the people that you're going to talk to on your podcast, if you're planning on having guests and things like that, like
Yeah.
you're gonna prove them wrong.
I mean, I'm gonna bring in I have a recruiter who I was speaking to, and she's like a completely different outlook and take on this whole thing. And I want her to come on and I want her to tell her truth. What's your truth? What happens when you work for an ad agency that has 10,000 people and you
Mhm.
post a role and you get 1,200 applicants? What's your truth? How do you handle that? For her, it has to be an ATS system. It
Right,
has to be because she cannot, as one person, manually go through that many applications.
right.
Okay, so if it has to be an ATS system, how do you work through those? Is it keywords? Is it full sentences? Is it experience? I mean, oh, this is a fun story. When I first started looking, I had a friend. I posted about this, but it was a while ago. I had a friend at an ad agency. She was like, "Hey, this role came out." And I think I posted it was about a friend, but it was about me. This was before I was more candid. She's like, "Hey, we have this role. You're perfect for it. Enter your stuff in the ATS and I'll flag the recruiter." Enter my stuff in. A couple days go by. I'm like, hey, did you ever reply to the recruiter? She's like, yeah. Message the recruiter. The recruiter's like, her stuff isn't here. I don't know what happened. Have her enter it again. So I'm like, weird. Okay, I got a confirmation. And it wouldn't let me enter it again because it was like, you already applied for this role. So I sent my friend the confirmation email and the recruiter went, she's like, oh my God. She was filtered out because of her college graduation date. Hmm.
What?
Yeah.
Wait, like you graduated too long ago or too
Yeah,
soon
like,
ago?
I was too old. Like, I graduated college in 2005. Like, I was 41 or 42 when I applied for that job, and it filtered me out because I was too old. They didn't wanna hire anyone over 40 or 39, I think was, like
Whoa,
yeah,
that's lawsuit territory.
I know. But that's what's happening with what's that other company who did that? Workday. They're getting sued for that exact thing.
I always wondered about that. It's always been in the back of my mind, and I to the point where I took the year I graduated off my
Oh, so did
resume.
I. Yeah, me too.
I went to Drexel and that's it. I took it off.
Yeah.
And
I have friends who are like, "Only put the last 10 years of your work experience. You look young. You can lie about your age." And I was like,
you
"I
shouldn't
don't
have to,
wanna do that." I wanna be hired because I have been doing this for so long.
right? Why is it a deterrent for somebody who's older? You want somebody first of all, like they shouldn't make the determination that you're too old or you're too experienced. If you're applying for a job,
Right.
you want the job. Who cares if you have creative director experience? If you want to be a designer or you want to go back to being an art director in terms of,
Right.
we're talking levels here,
Yeah.
that's on you, right?
Right.
You wouldn't have
Agree.
applied for the job if you didn't want it.
Right. I applied for a job as an art director role and I interviewed. It was like 2 interviews, and the last interview was with the creative director, and he was like, "Look, I really like you, but I can't hire you." And I was like, "Why?" I just wanna be an art director. I don't wanna people manage right now. I just want my time back. And he was like this was a while ago. But he said something along the lines of, "You're my level of experience, and I have to be telling you what to do." And I'm like, "Okay, tell me what to do." And he's like, "I just don't feel like you'll be receptive to somebody who's on par." He wants someone who's basically gonna, like, sit down, listen to him, do what he wants, and not argue back. And I can respect that. That's fine, and I appreciate the honesty as well.
But he stated that as if it was your own thought instead of
Right.
asking you, "Hey, how do you feel about this situation?"
That's how all my interviews are. That's how they all are. Is it because I'm a woman? Maybe. I don't know. Is it because I look younger than I actually am? Maybe. I don't know. But
Yeah.
people tell me how I should feel, the type of work I should be doing. I'm told a lot of things. And I think a lot of other women are too. They just don't realize it.
Hmm, that's crazy. Have you heard more kind of horror stories from women than from men?
So many.
Yeah.
I had a Me Too moment before Me Too was a thing. I'm not gonna share it because it's not worth it, but through DMs, I have shared it with other women who have come to me and said, "I was fired when I was pregnant," or "I didn't get this job because I was pregnant,"
Mhm.
things like that. Those happen all the time,
Yeah. I have close friends that it happened to at places that I've worked, and it's really it's
and it's
awful.
not against the law. if you look it up, it's not.
Right.
Like, they can do it. They can give you a severance and lay you off when you're pregnant. That's not against the law. They're assholes, but
It's just there just seems to be a lot of excuses when it comes to what recruiters and HR teams are doing. Like, have you, like, what has been the most frustrating experience for you in terms of like timing and excuses? Because I've always had where, they hear, "Oh, it's timing," and it's, "Oh, it's this season and we can't hire, there's nobody around," or, "We're coming to the end of the year and we can't hire because we're on a hiring freeze." I've had that. I've been told,
yeah,
"Hey, we need help. We're getting really busy. You can hire." And then I go through interview process and try to hire people, and then they're like, "Actually, hang on. We're freezing things. Why did
yeah,
you tell me I could hire somebody?"
right. It's a lack of bird's eye view leadership. Like, if you're a leader, you need to look at things in a different way. You can't be on the ground. You just
Right,
can't be. And that's what I'm finding is that I talk to a lot of people who are pretty high up in companies, but they don't get that bird's eye view like they should. They're either not allowed or it's not part of their job description. And so I think that that's a problem, but timing wise, I've gone through interviews where it's taken 2 months to finish the process. 2 months.
right,
And how do you I mean, 2 months, 7 rounds. That's 7 hours.
right.
What
And
if
then
you had a job?
that's an easy excuse to say, "It took this long and now we're actually gonna put a hiring freeze on. And so,
Right.
sorry, you went through all this."
That happened to me twice
Yeah.
when I first started looking. I interviewed 2 different places, got the offer, and then when I sent the offer back, I got even drug tested for one. Like, I this was, like, gonna happen.
Right.
Budgets were cut. I'm so sorry. 2 in a row, 2 jobs in a row. I was like, "Alright, well, I at least I got the offers for 2 of those companies, but I haven't gotten another offer since May."
So, through all of this, so many people have gone through this. I've been through it. It's been almost a year and a half. And even before, it's not just within the last year and a half. Like, plenty of times over the past, I would say 5, 6, 7 years, you know, I've experienced that where you apply and it goes into the ether and it comes back.
Mhm.
And you're just like, am I any good? Am I any, am I just not a creative person or people don't see me that way? And I know it's hard to kind of separate the two, but like what are you doing through all these challenges to stay creative? Like what do you like to do outside of the LinkedIn sphere and outside of work
Right.
to use your creative brain?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing the podcast, so that's been kind of fun. I have 2 freelance clients that I work with pretty regularly.
Mhm.
One's a small ad agency where I just do pitch work for them, and the second one is a big organization that has a huge gala at the end of every year, so they need a ton of assets like digital banners, emails. They have an actual real invitation that they send out, which I love print, dying industry. Then I have my virtual assistant right here. I
Um,
actually have 3 of them. Aren't they so cute? Have you heard of these, the
the
Boo-Boos?
Labubu's, yeah,
The
I
Boo-Boos.
cannot and will not get into that craze.
Oh my god. My
That would
kids
be
are
creepy for
obsessed.
me to do, I think.
My kids are obsessed, and, there's this game that you can play on Pop Mart. It's called Pop Now, and if you win, you still have to pay for the Labubu, but it's super fun to play it and win it, and that's how we've gotten all of these,
Nice.
little cute
Wait,
things,
so
but
how
it's
many do
cool.
you have now? And will these outlive the Beanie Baby troll doll craze, Tamagotchi, all that
Right.
stuff?
We have a lot. So my kids each have 3. My son has 4 because he won, like, this coveted secret one where he was really excited about. My daughter has 3 because she's 11, so she kind of, like,
She's
doesn't
in
really
that
care.
she's in that
So I
niche.
have 6 right now.
Okay. I don't even know, like, are they expensive? Like, how much are
They're
they?
like 30 bucks.
And so you go and they come in like a thing and
Yeah, and you unbox
you
them,
don't know
you
you
don't want
unbox them, you don't know what you're gonna get, right? It's all a big secret. Is
right.
that the fun part?
This is not creative at all, but it makes me laugh because it's so stupid. Like, look, its nails are painted. How is this a thing? I don't know. I think Kim Kardashian, like, made it famous or something.
Really? Is that how they blew up
Some
from her?
celebrity was wearing them. I don't know because 'cause I'm not really a pop culture-y person. I
Right.
haven't been following, but some celebrity was wearing them on their bags because 'cause they're like bag chains. You put it on, like, the side of your bag. and it hangs down. And some celebrities were wearing them. And so the kids all got obsessed. And my kids, my mom was overseas for the summer and she came home and she's like, I got the kids the boo-boos. And she's so excited. And my kids opened the box and like, these are Lafufus. And my mom's like, what's a Lafufu? And they're like, these are fake. These are
Fake,
fake
right?
boo-boos. We can't take these.
I feel like so much of creativity can come out of, happiness and putting yourself in the right
Yeah.
kind of state of mind, right?
For sure. 100%. Like, look, I have like I'm into stones, so I have this
Okay.
in
You
my
got the woo woo
elephant.
going on, right?
Like this helps you.
I
And
love
then
elephants,
buy some books, like manifest what you want,
right?
find your path. I don't know. It's like I'm so bored sitting here all day. Like I'm gonna write a LinkedIn post. Someone asked me to write on their
You could be a guest
Substack.
LinkedIn poster. You could
Yeah, so
like
my
come up
my
with
husband's like, "When are you getting paid for your LinkedIn posts?" I'm like, "Never. I'm living off you for the rest of
Jill
my life."
GPT. I'm gonna come to you and ask you to write my next series of posts here.
Yeah. I'll
But
be
like,
a
what do you
LinkedIn
want people
illustrator.
to remember about their creativity when they're going through all of these rejections and it feels like that's all the negativity that they see online on LinkedIn
Yeah,
and
oh my
all that
god.
stuff? Like, how do you advise? Because it sounds like, people are coming to you now to talk to you. Like, what do you advise them on about?
Yeah.
Do you talk to people about their creativity?
It's so hard. I actually just talked to my old creative director like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, "Oh my god, I'm so sad. I feel like I suck and I'm so bad at what I do and I can't get a job and everyone hates me." And he's like, "First of all, no. Like, I'm just gonna tell you no. And let's talk about what Jill's great at. Like, what are you great at?" And he made me realize that there's a lot of things that I'm good at that other people aren't good at. And that's the same for everybody. So when you're sitting there feeling down and out and feeling so bad about yourself, he really made me see that everybody has a unique strength, right? And so if you're hiring for a job at a grocery store, for example, and you're looking at 5 portfolios and their designs are all pretty much on par with each other, do you need somebody who's more outspoken? Do you need somebody who has grocery experience? Do you need somebody who thinks the world is flat? I don't know. But you want a unique person to join this team for a unique reason. And I think that's what's getting lost in the interview process. Now that we're talking about this, I mean, it is unique that this one person has 5 years of grocery experience. That's a unique experience to that person.
Right.
Like, good for that person. So it's all about what are your unique abilities and your unique skills that you have that no one else has, and then hone in on those and make those great and be thankful for those. It's like for me, what I'm really good at is I'm really good at designing components. I'm really good at taking a small thing and making them all look the same, making them all feel the same, and then putting them all together as a puzzle. And you can see it in my portfolio. I have a few of those that I've done. I'm
Mhm.
really good at those small space things. I'm really good at, taking a screen and working on like just the menu. Like that's just make this menu badass. And that's what I'm really good at. And then putting all the pieces together and seeing how they fit. And that's one of my strengths. I'm also batshit crazy and like really unhinged. That's another one of my strengths. Um,
Lean
you
into that
know,
one.
everyone's different.
Yeah. What if people don't know what they're good at? What if people are
Ask
like, sit there and
people.
like, I don't know what I'm good at. What am I
Yeah,
good at?
ask people. Like, oh my gosh, I have so many friends who I've reconnected with and spoken to over the years in the industry. And they're like, you were so good at XYZ when we worked together. Just ask people and they'll tell you.
Yeah.
I mean, I have so many good things to say about so many people that I worked with. If they called me today, I'll tell them this is what I loved about you. This is what you brought to the table because everyone does bring something super unique
Right.
to the table. And that's getting forgotten. It really
Yeah.
is. It's kind of sad.
How do you so you showed some books like self-help books and things like that. Have you seeked out mentorship or looked into that? Or even if it's just mentioned reconnecting with an old creative director, but have you gone and reached out to anybody else for in terms of mentorship to
Yeah,
try
I
to help?
reached out to everybody. I
Yeah.
reached out to, like, this one guy who interviewed me, the one I was telling you about who was super transparent, and I was like, "Hey, can I wanna be your friend. I want you to help me be better." Because
Yeah.
I know that he could. Like, I was the most sad about not getting that job because I knew that he would make me better,
Right.
and that's what I want. I wanna be better, and I think it comes from this this age old advertising idea where like you in Miami ad school, you would put all your work on a wall and the teacher would walk by and be like, nope, 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 and just pull that shit down and leave like the last two standing. And he would be like, all right, these win, whatever. I don't remember how they did it. It was so long ago, but it's that feeling where you just want to be better. Like if your work got pulled down that day, then next week when you were in class again, you wanted to stay on the wall.
Right.
You just want to get better and better and better. And there's so many of us that just want to be better. We just don't have the chance. We're not given the chance to be better. If I had gotten that job a week after I got that job, I would have already been better because I would have been under him for a week.
Right.
And that's why I'm so thankful for the people I've worked with because I've worked with such amazing people. Oh my gosh, over the course of my career, every single person has made me better. Whether it's better in life as a human or whether it's better in a better designer, a better art director, a better leader, a better mentor. We should all just be striving to be better because there's no best. There's no best. Best doesn't exist. We just want to be better.
Right. Just a little bit every day. So
Yeah.
looking ahead, what kind of creative work excites you the most? Like, where do you want to put your creative energy next in your next
Yeah.
job, your next, I don't even think you're meant for a job. I think you're meant for something bigger, something better that is going to be yours. So, like, where do you want to be? Where do you want your energy to be put?
At the end of the day, I love helping people. I love, the story of that guy who, reached out to me on LinkedIn telling me he was gonna end things and not doing it because I made him laugh. That's that's where
Powerful.
I wanna live. I wanna live in that place all the time. But I also wanna do cool work, and I wanna work with cool people, and everyone always asks me, like, "What are you looking for? What's your dream job?" I hate that question in interviews. "What's your
Not have
dream
a job.
job?" Well, that has nothing to do with what you're interviewing me for, so I don't have a dream
Certainly
job.
not grocery.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a dream job. I just wanna be better. I don't put me anywhere, put me in any situation and let me be better at it. I could be a better parent, probably. Maybe that should be my job.
Think we could all be better parents. Well, that's one thing we'll never be great at,
Right.
you know. So with the like I want to end with giving you another plug for your podcast. So tell us about really what are your goals? How are you going to have it structured? Who are you going to be talking to? What's your plans?
Yeah, so it's kinda gonna be like this, just super casual. It's called Unemployable, and my first guest actually gave me the name for it because we were brainstorming together. Alex Martinez will be my first guest. He's hilarious. Everyone should watch it, but it's just gonna be being more inspirational and,
Mhm.
I have some ideas that haven't been done before that I wanna try. So we'll see if that can get done, but just talking to people who have a light, people who are excited about what they do, whether it's in my industry or not. It can be anybody. It's just a podcast for people who have a job, people who hate their job, people who love their job. We all have a job. Being a mom is a job. It's like the hardest job I've ever had. And I don't know. There's just something about who we are right now as the tech world that's missing. And I
Mhm.
think it's the humanity. I think we just
Yeah.
need to like bring the humanity back and just talk about things. I mean, oh my gosh, just think back to the early 2000s when we like first started. Things were so different. They were so fun. Social media had like just started. I don't even think Twitter, Instagram, those weren't even around yet.
Yeah. I'm old enough to remember like when YouTube wasn't around,
Oh,
you
that's
know?
right. I forgot about that. There
Yeah.
was no
Like that's
YouTube.
like 2005.
Yeah, that's
I had
2000.
already graduated by then.
Oh
I
god, I
just
was just
I'm just,
graduating college. I remember when Facebook came out and my roommate was like, "Oh my god, you wanna we can, like, stalk people on this." I was like, "What is that?"
it
And you had to
trying to have more human connection and all it did was like give us a reason to not have to be in front of somebody, right?
Yeah. I actually did my senior thesis on the effects of Photoshop on youth or generational something, I can't remember, but the data was appalling.
I can't imagine.
And how it's like everything's it's not even photoshopped anymore, it's like Facetune. It's
Well,
just
now I have to talk to my kids about AI and like you can't
yeah.
literally cannot trust anything that you see
Mhm.
visually because things are starting to look it's amazing within the past. I started messing with Mid Journey
Yeah.
a couple of years ago at 22 2, I guess it came out. And it's amazing how it's changed within just the past like
Right.
year.
Yeah. Oh, that's another thing that people ask. "Oh, do you know AI? How are you with AI?" And I'm like, "I'm fine with AI, but I'm a learner. I'm
Mhm.
learning." So if a 10 is an expert, no one's ever gonna be a 10
Yeah,
because it's a social platform, so they're gonna change shit. So I
right.
always say I'm like a 6 or a 7, and they're like, "Well, then you're not an expert."
Are you an expert?
You're
Like,
right.
you're the guy that's asking you that question, like, "Are you an expert?"
Right. I'm like, "Your idea of what AI is I think might be wrong, but okay, whatever."
Yeah, go hire one of those AI influencers and see how
Yeah.
far you get.
So stupid. Like,
That's what
that's
I wanna
what
be, an AI influencer.
someone goes to me, "Change your LinkedIn headline to AI expert art director." I was like, "Oh, okay. Will that get me a job?"
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm not proud of it, but I had to add in Midjourney and ChatGPT onto the
Yeah.
resume as a skill, just like Photoshop, because
Right.
I've been asked about it.
Yeah, no, me too. Same. I'm always asked about it. And then this one creative director was like, "Do you know Figma?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you categorize your expertise in Figma?" I'm like, "A 3?" Because a 3 or a 4 maybe? I'll never be a 5. Figma's constantly changing. It's a web-based application.
Right,
So, like, they just launched an update last week where they freaking changed, like, half of the
right.
tools in Figma.
Just say 5. What's it how are they gonna call you out on that?
I know, but it just doesn't feel authentic. Like, there, we're talking
Yeah,
about authenticity again. It's
yeah,
like, I don't wanna work for you if you don't understand what Figma is. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It seems so silly. It is, it's so silly. It makes me sad.
Well, you're definitely one of the most authentic people I've met in a long
Ugh.
time, I feel like, and, I when is your first episode dropping?
So Friday. I'm gonna
Awesome.
post it at 3 p.m. on
Okay.
Friday.
I'm gonna listen to it. I hope everybody else listens to it too. And I wish you the best of luck. And I'm
Yeah.
gonna be LinkedIn stalking you, unfortunately, just waiting for that next joke or something to make me smile or laugh. And yeah, I mean, I wish you the best of luck in your
Thank you, and you
endeavors and your
too.
projects and in your creative life. And I hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Me too. It was a pleasure.
Yep. Thanks, Jill.
Bye, Rob.
Bye. Thanks to Jillian Di Benedetto for being a guest on today's show. And thank you for joining me on the Flame podcast. There's definitely more to come. Please take a moment to follow, subscribe, or hit that like button if you haven't done so already. And if you have any feedback or would like to be a guest on the show, send me a message at talk@theflamepod.com. I would love to hear from you.